Today is day 1 of the April-May 4-day retreat in Springwater. Listening right now, gentle rain, tweetering of birds that couldn't possibly imitate it so well. Is there a listener? Would that be thinking, I wish it wasn't raining, I'd love to have the sunshine? But if such thoughts come up, to see that and to stay with what's here. We don't even know what it is. Thinking rain isn't what it is. Or bird song, or breathing. That's how it is most of the time, living in our thoughts about things, ourselves, each other, stories. Which is all what we would call, or could call, the known. But here in a retreat, is it possible for even just moments at a time to enter into unknown, which is this moment, as it is. There were a couple of things that I forgot to mention last night in the opening talk. And one actually had to do with talks, the talks in this retreat. And just to mention that they generally come from something that's come up in a group or individual meeting, and maybe is considered to be something to look at some more. I described it to someone the other day as it sort of can be an outward kind of questioning and looking, so that it's a kind of a sharing together. If we are looking together. But it's not meant to be a final word on something, whatever that would be. Or taken over. Can't even imagine that would be the case here, but I'll just say that. As was mentioned last night, the neat thing in doing this work is for us to find out for ourselves about what is talked about or discussed, inquired into. And if something isn't clear, then the group discussion or inquiry or a private meeting would be a good time to bring a question up, or maybe something was missed or another way of looking at something. Or, of course, what is brought up doesn't need to have anything to do with the talk. And it was mentioned a little bit last night about the group inquiries, but to mention also about the individual meetings, that can it be a shared looking together, that sort of energy that's not mine, it's not yours. And actually in that moment of looking, there is no me and you. It's just that inquiry, which may not even be a good enough word to describe it. Sometimes it's described as, can we be friends in doing this together, all of us, which is a nice way to put it too. But again, in that very moment of that listening, it's just that, and looking. And the other thing that was not mentioned was about tiredness. And I was reminded of it this morning, sitting out on the balcony. And this overwhelming feeling of what we call fatigue, tiredness coming up. And then noticing the thought, imagination of getting into bed, pulling the blanket up. And in that noticing, not going with that, and then wondering, what is fatigue? What is tiredness? And with that, or the sensations, unknowable in words, and the sounds from the kitchen and what all else was here. So if there's a moment of coming to and then maybe wondering, what is this? Whether it's tiredness or what we call fear or anxiety, or resistance, all labels, words that are useful for communicating something, but what is that something in that moment? There are two other questions which to go into. Well, there's one that came from someone in the retreat who left a note yesterday, and at the end of the note asked, what is needed to listen? We can look at that right now in being here, and as was actually mentioned before, listening with the rain. If there's the movement of not wanting that, wishing it were otherwise, knowing what rain is, in thought and memory, can there at this moment be this open listening that we talk about, not knowing? But there's also in listening, we could say maybe also to each other in a group, meeting together. Do I already know what you are going to say? Do I already know you? Can the images be transparent that get in the way of the immediacy of listening at this moment? Being open to what you have to say. Open and looking at it. I would say unprejudiced, but there may be an idea, so to see if it comes up what the prejudice is, and if that can be held in abeyance, or maybe it's dropped at the instant of seeing. ideas, images, and beliefs that are held to here, oneself. Sometimes we don't know what it is until something feels threatened by what is said or asked. And at that moment, is it possible to see that what usually feels like a physical sensation, thought is so intertwined, interconnected with the sensation that maybe it's a bit like the body itself, the organism feels threatened by just something that's said. So, to notice that, and wonder, amazement that this happens, rather than more judgment now about oneself. And with that, the possibility to listen and look at what's being said. So can it be said that to really listen I don't know what that is. One could say it's to die in this moment, die to the need to be somebody and to protect that idea or image. Die to what is known. Which means, doesn't it, being alive to this moment of being here. there